What's up, everyone? Welcome back to RIFC Nation. We're a fan-created podcast by two native Rhode Islanders talking all things Rhode Island FC. Each episode is available here on YouTube. And if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click the like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review if it helps, as it helps most people find our podcast. Crack a beer, cozy up. Let's dive into this one. This is another episode of The Away End. I'm your host, Matt. I'm joined by my good friend, Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Hello.
We've also got Garret from Channel 451, a Detroit City supporter and podcast. Garret, how's everything going with you today?
Matt, Ryan, it's pretty good. It's still blows my mind we're already in June this year.
Crazy, right?
Yes.
I teach, so like June is the end of the year for me, so I'm so excited. I've got like a week left.
I work in the event industry, so I just know right now it's like silly season, especially with like everything going on in Detroit and like Michigan, like for example, Michigan Central opening back up tomorrow, and ebbs and flows and weather, kind of like all of our sports teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we kind of dive into this one, Garret, tell us a little bit about your podcast and your show and where all of our listeners can find you.
So 451 Detroit was started up by our dear friend Sean Red Novak. It is a callback to a game during our MPSL times, which is what Detroit City started off in. MPSL, for those that aren't aware, is fourth division in, I think, USASA. So 2 months of the year, kind of like your summer ball version, kind of like what USL League 2 is in a way, pre-USL League 2. And it was a rival matchup against Ann Arbor on July 7th, 2017. Full packed house at Keyworth. Unfortunately, our pitch then was kind of like, roads and bogs and marshes, as I think of the lines from The Departed, and flooded due to massive quick rainstorm. So at 4 minutes and 51 seconds, the match was postponed. And due to it was one of those things where it was waited for like an hour, 60 to 90 minutes, but then people were still singing, cheering. I don't know if people were actually running out and doing pitch slides. But that moment is part of kind of like supporters fandom. And that let Sean at the time kind of create this as just kind of a podcast for fan stuff. And then I joined part of it in 2022. So now it's 451's part of like the Majors Detroit. It also includes the Tunnel Talk podcast, which I think they're doing a YouTube live of later on this evening, Adam and Alan, and the Majors Detroit, which is kind of our all things Detroit sports. So Detroit City, Tigers, Lions, Pistons, even though I don't want to talk about them so much right now, and the Red Wings. So 451 Detroit on YouTube, at 451 DET for Twitter, which is, it's sports and entertainment. You never know what you're going to get. The Majors Detroit, TMS NX Detroit, and then I'm at GM Comat. So, and it's fun. It's always fun to talk soccer, especially with, teams we're playing against this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time out to join us.
Yeah, so Garret, you don't know this yet, but I have a soft spot for Detroit. My wife is from Michigan. She's outside Ann Arbor. So this one's been fun to kind of dig into and research. But yeah, looking at your guys' season so far, you're currently 6th in the Eastern Conference. You've played 10 games, around 17 points. Hit a bit of a rough patch lately, but can you just talk a little bit about how it's been going for Detroit City?
This is, kind of a bit of a transition year in a way for the men's side. So third year in the USL Championship. Trevor James, at the end of last season, shifted from coaching to become a sporting director fully for the club, overseeing all the football operations, and his wife, Tiffany James, vice president of vice sporting director. So that is essentially overseeing the men's and the women's side. So Danny Dicchio brought in, who I think had a big impact in the Sacramento Republic teams we've seen the last couple years. Season vet in the game of football, played in England and Italy, and Toronto MLS. He had the first goal and the first red card, both in the same game. So with that came an identity of wanting to be a little bit more aggressive in the play, wanting to be a little bit more attack minded, because we've always had a good structure. a lot of our defense and our goalkeeper, so Nate Steinwasser, Stephen Carroll, they came up through us through the MPSL years. And then other players like Maxi Rodriguez, who's been with us since our last NISA season in 21. But I think what we're seeing now in this stretch is one of our NISA stalwarts retired a week before the season started, in Matt Lewis. And I think at the time we were doing really, really well. But now I think as that rough stretch you're talking to now, our defense has been a little bit inconsistent. And we'll kind of talk about maybe why that's been the case. But this is a time when I think both teams have something to really need to get something out of this.
Yep.
But I feel better. I feel like we're seeing some good moments on there right now. We're dealing with some injuries, which I think has affected how our attack's been, as opposed to like the first 4 or 5 games in the season. But I feel like even the last couple games, somewhat the attack's been okay. It's just, we've been seeing the issues defensively.
No, it's very well said. We like to do a segment on here called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We typically do it in our match reviews, but like to get the opposing viewpoint on that for our away end episode. So hit us with a good moment, a bad moment, and an ugly moment for Detroit City FC's season so far.
So I'm going to go reverse in that because I want to end on a good note. And
I like that.
I like that.
So I'm going to.
We might have to take that.
Little Uno reverse card on us. I like that.
I'm going to go ugly first. So ugly first, and that is a little bit recently. The first half at Indy 11 in the U.S. Open Cup 2 Wednesdays ago, and then the second half in Louisville last Wednesday, where both of those matches had, at that time, we were in the game, and then the goal given Indy was against the run of play. I could say the Indy game, Indy beat us like how we won games last season in 2022. I'm a Crystal Palace supporter, so as a surviving the Roy Hodgson era of rope a dope and hope you can break, and maybe a little bit of that old Eintracht Frankfurt too. So I'm used to that. Although having that done to us is the circle going completely around. There's no excuse for Louisville in the second half last week. I think we started chasing, and they have enough quality to make you pay. So, bad. This little run we've had, we have winless in regulation in all competitions since April 20th, the 3-1 win against Oakland Roots. We did have the Open Cup triumph in Houston, which penalty kicks though, but we had luck plays in the favor to an extent in that game. We played a really good side, really talented side that day. And then also I'll include the 2-0 loss to Pittsburgh, because we're rolling into that game. Pittsburgh just gets their first win in the season the weekend before in Phoenix. And I think we just got lilied. The best way I can say it, Lily Ball got us, because I think the way that they played, we didn't have an answer for that. And it was painful, I think, to see that, especially with how the progression of this side was doing at the start of the season. Now on to the good stuff. First 5 games of the season, how we were playing, especially seeing us at full strength when we had Elvis Amo healthy, when we had Reese Williams before the cheekbone. Both of those happened in the same game against North Carolina. And I think we had a brief moment where we felt good against Oakland Roots, but since then we're trying to reach that high again. Mm-hmm. The Open Cup triumph in Houston, penalty shootout. It's one of those things where for a time that was the biggest moment, I think, in this club's history recently, only to then be topped by the final good moment 9 days later, the press release announcement of the future stadium site for Detroit City in Southwest Detroit, an area of the Detroit which a handful of blocks away just did Tiger Stadium. And, seeing so much sporting history to now see, this club grow in the lengths that it has to right now to what it's going to be able to be getting to that's at the end of the day, that's cool.
Yeah, I think I saw the new stadium's gonna be over near Mexico Town.
Yeah, so it's like right out, like you're getting out of Corktown, you're starting to enter Mexican Town, and there's like a couple of different like regions of there. So Southwest Detroit, I think, is the best way to say it without throwing shade at any of the bases in case, there's because the funny thing about Detroit City front ownership, I think we have one that lives in Corktown, one that lives in actual like Mexican Town Southwest, and I think we had one in Corktown too, but moved to the east side of the city. So it can get fun, especially with before Detroit City FC, there was the DCFL Community League, which is a recreational league in the summer, and it's all the different neighborhoods in the city teams facing each other. So like pride and like, hey, this is our borough in your region, and used to play for a competition in Belle Isle. I'm not sure if they play at Fort Wayne now still, but that's kind of like that mindset in a way. So I realize don't want to offend anybody that's in those regions.
Yeah.
What's the expected capacity on the new stadium?
Right now, I think they're trying to say 14,000.
Wow.
Wow.
So, we know that I think part of that announcement has to do with, well, what's sanctioning, how, what the current D1 sanctioning and all that. But we know, I've known this from as long as getting into the game, following it in this level. You guys are seeing it now in your first year in the game around you too. Soccer in this country is especially outside of MLS, is evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And ebbs and flows and frustrations and all the different emotions. So what the current situation is right now may not be the same when the stadium's ready to go come 27. Yep. This is the aim in 2027.
Right. So we're a year away from our own stadium too. So we feel that particularly.
So I think right now 14 something's the goal. I think there's going to be room to expand upon it.
That's why we're doing ours too.
Yeah. But it's still like fun early days in there. But I feel good about this one, especially with, obviously in a way compared to maybe the situation we've been seeing going on in Indianapolis. It's a bit different from that right on there. So we're still early days. Nothing's ever easy in life. So I think that is the, but yeah, so 14 right now. And, I think we'll see if it expands or how that goes around, and the region and the area around that stadium too.
Yep. Yeah, so actually, I'm going to go a little off script just to keep it on kind of like the impact of Detroit City and stuff. I was looking up your squad, and just seems like the squad is the team is like very, very involved in the community. There's a ton of outreach with different charity organizations, things like that. Can you talk about the impact that the actual team has had on the city of Detroit?
I think the city is not just the city of Detroit, but I think also some of supporting, because the team currently plays in Hamtramck.
Yep.
So it's an enclave in the city of Detroit. To give you like, it borders like the east side of the city in a way. So the funny thing is, so where I work in the east side is where connected to where the Packer plant is off of I-94 on the east side of Detroit. So if I go to my left 5-10 minutes, I'm at Keyworth Stadium and I'm in Hamtramck. If I go to my right, I head toward where Club HQ currently is, the Detroit City Field House, where they also do rec leagues. They do work with DPS. They do indoor DPS leagues for Detroit Public Schools. Martin Luther King High School is across the street from where the field house is. So very involved in wanting to do work with the public schools in the community on that, as well as like recreational sessions, outdoor sessions for the kids and stuff in the community. Their youth scene, which they know for travel, they do travel, but from what I've seen, they were offering travel as a much more affordable aspect than some of the high profile teams in this metro region, because I'm sure it's the same here. Soccer is almost expensive in some cases, more expensive than hockey.
Yep.
Baseball.
I'm seeing that now with my kindergarten son. Like, for him to play in another league, it's like how many thousands? Like, holy shit.
Yeah. And so I think it's a way to try to provide a pathway from youth to, our future goal is these players and talents that we have in there can eventually don the shirt that they've been donning at a young age. We're still, I think, some ways away from that. Mm-hmm. But that's part of it. And also, I think the one thing, especially since it's June and it's Pride Month, is
I was going to bring this up.
is the our work with our supporters work with and the clubs work with Ruth Ellis Center.
Yep.
Ruth Ellis Center does a lot of work for LGBTQ community, especially for those that are, like whether it's housing or needs in that, especially the youth of LGBTQ. So they one of our Northern Guard supporters co-founded Pride Raiser, which is for the initiative in that. So any goals scored during the home match in June through the NGS Pride Raiser goes towards that. And then also, our partner, club also has like allies working with in those ways too. So it's a really cool initiative. That does a lot of things. There's special pride kits for home matches for the month of June. And I think that's part of the work and everything that you want to do, especially in the way on there, is like be members of, and I think Dan Dico said it best, is they want to be stewards of this community as much as possible. And I think that. And, I think that goes and efforts a long way. Let me, just so I can provide the link for anyone that is interested in there. And I always forget the,
sure. And we'll put it in the episode description too. So if you're watching or listening, you can find it a little bit after the fact as well.
Yeah. The Detroit Pride Raiser is ngs.prideraiser.org. And the current pledge goal total right now is $1,659.69 pledged per goal so far. So it is. Nice. So it's and that goes for both men's and women's matches.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I've seen the team has just done a great job, both like with the charitable side, with like supporting their community, building up the women's team, just for like this impact around, especially around LGBTQ, right, shouldn't be surprising. For those you don't know, Detroit City was the first American sports team to wear a uniform in support of LGBT inclusion. So just really cool to see that the team is, standing by what they've come out and maybe some might say marketed, but they're really behind it in the community, which is, I thought was amazing to see. So.
Right. And, I think it's also cool in a way too, that a lot of the people there's a bar at Detroit City Fieldhouse called Detroit City Clubhouse. So for the international soccer connoisseurs and us, there is that place to go to in the off season. And there's been times before where you won't be surprised to see one of the core owners of the club be behind the bar and serve.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I found out our sweetest owner, I found out then, was a Manchester United fan after Leicester beat them because he was behind the bar. I was like, who also he's our current coach of our women's team. I would have never thought him to be a United fan, but I could hold that over.
So you mean he's like a nice, respectable person?
Oh, he's a gem of a human being. So, but yeah,
sorry, Scott.
Yeah, shout out Dave Doherty on there. So,
Garret, I'll give you some fun intel on that. I'm a Spurs fan, and Ryan is a Gooner, so we've got quite a divide in here. We've also got Megatron in the house in here, and Up the Evan, and he is a Palace fan like yourself. So he was the one that had the Up the Palace comment in there.
Yeah, and I appreciate all that. It's a fun. It's a good football education. I think all of us in there. One of our best buds in 451. So we have Arsenal, we have Manchester City, we got a lapsed United Irishman, and
Roy Keane hangs out your
actually, I don't know. I don't think Den's from Cork. I'm trying to forget where he's from in Ireland. And our Peruvian buddy who's celebrating because Real Madrid won yet another Champions League. So, which seems what Carlo Ancelotti was brought
Don Carlo
to do. Yeah. So, a lot of football around the world.
Awesome. So
I see Megatron's asking, wait, Man United fans exist? I thought it was City fans that don't exist because they're all foreign and whatnot. And we've got a Swansea in the house in the chat as well. Crazy,
diverse chat, unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's football brings everybody together.
That's it. It's a beautiful game.
Cool. So I'll get back on script here. So another of our core segments on our show, Garret, is that we do what we call RIFC in 3. So after the game, we ask our listeners to sum up the match in 3 words. Could you sum up the season or maybe even your support of Detroit City so far in 3 words?
3 words this year: whirlwind of emotions.
Good one.
Better. It's More manageable so far though this year than last year. Last year was a lot, just because it was the ebbs and flows and getting into playoffs. This year we've experienced some great highs in the season, but then the last couple weeks have kind of been brought to reality. So, it keeps you on your toes.
Yep.
So next up, we got for you to talk about kind of the traveling support and what we can expect from Detroit City fans coming to Rhode Island. And I know myself included, I know Kevin, who runs Fluffy Cog Corner, and a lot of Rhode Island FC fans are pretty enamored with the Northern Guard. That was one of their first follows on Twitter, on social media, and just kind of love what they do. I have a friend who he lives in Bowling Green, Kentucky, but his wife's family's from Cincinnati, and he goes, "Hey, like you guys are getting the Millwall fans this weekend. Like, you ready for that?" So, like, to give it that Euro connection there. But if you could talk about the traveling support and how many regulars typically travel or people that are coming to Rhode Island, and just kind of what they bring to away matches.
I think the passion is, as definitely there. I'm not sure how many are going to be full on making the trek to Rhode Island. I know we have a women's match here Saturday afternoon, arrival one in state. But I do know, like, to give you a rundown, Indy and Louisville were our last 2 Wednesdays, and we had full bus club, had a bus full on both of those games
Awesome.
on there. Unfortunately, they had to also come back immediately after that match. So our sarcastic joke is no more bus trips on Wednesdays, guys. Yeah. But it gives you an idea. Those are fully passionate in there. And I think with being in USL now, it's a little bit harder, I think, for everybody to get to away games as much as usual. But you'd have people car packing, riding in. I think where for me, because I've been going to city matches since 2017 and really started going away stuff in 2019. I think I've seen them I've seen them in Napa Valley in Members Cup, Chattanooga, which we kind of call our Chattanooga FC, which are kind of our frenemy club in a way. And then Stumptown, which is outside Charlotte, who ceased to exist and a part of the NISA fold, and then first USL game in San Antonio, Indy Pit Louisville. And so I think you'll get a good crowd I think depending on timing. I know Rhode Island is looked at as a preferable one on there on the list. I've looked at it briefly because I know the Tigers Red Sox was the weekend before that too. So, so I was thinking about going to Boston. But if anyone that's going to go, they're going to support. They're going to love the club on their club, and what you see from whether it's Northern Guard supporters or anyone Detroit City supporters in general, what you see is passion. And it's always going to be maybe opinions and views aren't always going to align, but it's genuine. How you feel, because it's doing what they can as much as possible in the name of the club that they love. And
That's really cool.
And I think that energy, I think, has helped been a spark for going on 12, 13 years and getting us from where we started at up to where we're at now, and hopefully where we can get.
And if you are a Detroit City supporter who's watching this, if you're going to the game, definitely swing by the Defiance tailgate. Come say hi. We love to welcome the away supporters, and we'll definitely give you some stickers and stuff to bring back to Detroit City.
Especially if you're a friend of Garret, come see us.
Yes.
Look for the supporters tents. We've got some stickers we want to send your way. So somebody come play sticker mule for us. And
we're doing pretty well at that so far.
Yeah, we've also I know I put it in our Defiance.
We're better than the post office.
For sure. I know we put it in our Defiance Discord today, but we've got some brand new, beautiful Huck Fartford stickers. So for those listening that are RIFC fans and you want to deck out your water bottle or laptop with a Huck Fartford sticker, make sure you find myself or Ryan at the tailgate, and we'll for sure hook it up with that. But yeah, like I said, I think people from RIFC are just enamored with your supporters group, the Northern Guard. I think you guys kind of really set the tone for what football fan culture in the U.S. can be. So I definitely applaud you guys on your efforts.
Thank you. So I was just going to say, I know it's the work of, just there's work of many on there. So I feel like to all that whether Nordengard or anyone that's come to Detroit City or helped out in any way, I mean, know that you're doing something. So whether big or small, you're always having a part in it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so as we start to wind towards kind of getting towards the preview of this match, who are some players to watch if you had to name 3 of them for Detroit City as we approach the game?
So I'm going to go kind of attack mid defense in a way. I'm going to start out with Maxi Rodriguez, who I think when he's been given in the role of this year has been more. The goal is to get him closer in mind with attack. Not have him have to do as much defensive responsibilities in there, especially now with the goal having getting James Murphy in from Monterey Bay and like to go fly shop to try to double pip as much as possible, so Maxi can be closer to goal. And he had a great start to the year, especially when you see off the ball. Sometimes he'll stay high up with whoever's playing up top as well. Another one is Ali Coop. Scotsman that we added this offseason from Bohemians in League of Ireland play. Been a little bit inconsistent lately, but when he's on, he brings something. That it was hard to choose because I feel like there's a couple people in that realm to go with, like Ali Coote, Ben Morris, who's probably chuffed as hell that Ipswich got promoted. And then Reese Williams, who what I love is he's been playing more attack-minded this year, because 2 years ago when he signed him from Stumptown, he was playing on a wing back, when we would go in a midfield 4 with the 3 centers. But he's great with both feet, which I love, especially in today's game, and not afraid to use both feet. If anything, he's just becoming more aggressive and taking shots now. So it was hard to choose that one. Defensively, I'm going to go Stephen Carroll, captain. I know that these last 3 games have been very frustrating. I'm sure definitely for the players, when you give up 11 goals over 3 games across all competitions, Indy, Louisville, Orange County, you want to make amends. And I know that, hard on your sleeve player, got the armband. He got a goal last week. Great header off a brilliant set piece ball by James Murphy. Did the baby celebration. Congrats to him and his wife. They're expecting. So I want to see how he's going to react. I know the words are being said, especially by the club footage that was dropped on their YouTube earlier today. Words are being said. Can they now carry the words into action on Saturday?
That's great. Next up in our guy, Nate, who, when you listen to this one or you watch it on ESPN Plus, you're going to hear the RIFC chant. That's Nate. Mm-hmm. Just, that is our guy, Nate Ski. Nate Ski is one of our biggest supporters of RIFC Nation.
Yeah.
And he always asks this question when we do the away end episode. Who is your super sub or super subs that could really come on later in this match and change the pace if needed?
I want to see if we've been floating lately with our shape, mainly been 4-2-3-1. I think John Morrissey called our Louisville shape 4-1-4-1 or 4-3-3. So I feel like we've been staying around that, other than the Houston Open Cup game, which was like 5-3-2, 3-5-2. I need to see who's going to be starting as the up top wins between Ben, Ali, and Reese, because I think whoever is not starting in that can fill the role of a super sub. If Alex Villanueva is not starting, I could see him having an impact in here. I'm a big fan of that siding from Orange County. Obviously, like Orange County's player of the season in 2022. He's still a young player. I think he's either 21 and still 21 or just turning 22. But frantic energy in a way. And I think that's going to be it. I suppose really it at the moment right now, unless because I need to see up top, is it going to be in my right from what I'm knowing right now? Is it either going to be Yazid Matthews or is it going to be Victor Becerra? Yazid Matthews is, I call you as the sun's coming in. It's like a beacon over here now.
The light is shining upon you right now. I love it.
Yeah, apparently. My friend, anyone that's going to listen to this is going to let me have it for sure.
So if you're listening, make sure you go to the YouTube and watch it. It's that much better on film.
Yazid Matthews is what I call your meat and potato striker. That's the bull in a china shop.
The traditional number 9.
In a way, what he doesn't have in the technique, he makes up for in the physicality. Solid in the air. He's great at pulling defenders away. So if you need somebody to create space for other people by the work that they do, Yazid Matthews late in the situation. If doesn't matter how you get it, if you got a route one, if you got a set piece, if you got a hope for something on there. Victor Petzera on the other end is our young on loan striker from the Chicago Fire. I think he was in Fire 2. 6'2", 24, 25. Pretty good at his hold up play. And then somebody who can he had a great goal against Oakland, which on there, but he hasn't been fully clicking it out lately. And I know he's been injured for a lot of the last 2 years. So that might have something to do with him getting back into the rhythm of playing. But those are, I would say, who we have in there right now, knowing what we have available squad wise. And also, if Matt Sheldon going to start now? Because Matt was somebody that when our first USL game at home was against Charleston Battery. And that was the year that, if you've ever seen The Simpsons and Ralph Wiggum, the way that their away kits are, we got a fun nickname for them that you can go back to old other things on there for anything. But we gave him a whole bunch of shit. But now that he's part of us, he's a gem. And that dude's got a motor like I did not imagine. That guy can run. That guy's got pace. And I think that's a good option if he's not starting, because I don't know if he's going to start or if he's going to come on. I would think Mike Bryant gets the right back spot. But Matt Sheldon is somebody that he's played a lot of games in this league, which is a valuable thing to have. And somebody that, can cause something in a moment of opportunity.
Nice.
Totally. So as we get to our score predictions, thanks everyone. Get those in the chat. So Garrett, let's say Detroit City was going to win. What would be the keys for that to happen? And then if RIFC were going to win, what do you think would have happened there?
I think if Detroit City wins, they've solved their issues defensively. Lapses in judgment, moments of opportunity, not being so aggressive in attacking runs in the defense. We got Devin Amamensa is incredibly gifted, incredibly talented on there, but I feel like Indy had a great game plan against us 2 weeks ago, where if you didn't see it, they were trying to dare people to take shots from outside the box, but they're letting people run in to try to go. Hate to rip on Arsenal thing, but the old pass, Arsenal,
the unicorn of death, whatever it's called,
try to move the ball around to then just get a pass and tap in type thing.
Yeah, try to walk into the net.
Yeah, and Indy caught it, won the ball, and then in their new current shape, since the first time they played them, then they just run right at you, especially when in Indy's case you got Williams, Guenzati, Martinez just running straight at you. That's a nightmare for any team nowadays. And then Louisville, we started chasing. So I think when we're a bit structured defensively, I'm not worried about us creating chances attacking wise on there, but just need to be smart on there. And I think if we're structured defensively, that's a good sign. Offensively, it's Ali Coop being creative, Ben Morris our wins causing havoc, and just being distribution well and being aggressive. James Murphy I love the energy James Murphy brings. I've referenced you put, I say this especially as a Lions fan, your players play like the coach. And, you see that with the Lions side.
So they love to go for it on fourth down is what you're saying.
It's aggressive. If you play with passion, you play with that fire and intensity, or if your manager has that. Trevor James, absolute gem of a human being, but he was also a box-to-box midfielder growing up. Danny Dicchio, on the other hand, was a striker, a number 9 guy. So you have a little bit more of that aggression. You have a little bit more of that intensity that you see in your management style. Your players, in turn, are also going to be similar to that too.
Mm-hmm.
James Murphy to me is that guy carrying that out. So if him and Elijah can keep the midfield going, winning the balls, moving around, that's an advantage. How I think could bite us. I was been taking a look. Mostly Rhode Island lately has been playing with a 4 at the back, right? So I think they started out with 3, doing a 3 at the back and wing backs, but at 4, going 4. Albert Dequa can cause issues. JJ Williams can cause issues. There's plenty of players that can do havoc, and we know it's going to be a tough out because, I think the wins may not be there, but the fact that 75% of your games in USL Championship play have ended in draws, and the fact that 5 games played and you've had draws in 5 games at home against New Mexico, Charleston, Pittsburgh, Sacramento.
We are the draw kings.
Which means you are a difficult out.
Sure.
Which means that, we have to be on. And there's a couple different ways that you guys can score goals when you get the moment. I've seen the split through ball through the gap in Monterey that Albert Dequa buried. I've also seen the goal in Hartford where you kind of did a win run in, little run at the near post.
I think those are our only 2 goals of the season, so I appreciate you shouting those out.
But the point is, I think those moments is if we are off, because sometimes we will turn off on moments, defending on a corner and leaving somebody open at the near, or those little tight things, or we have to be on. Otherwise, we might give something up, and that is, I think that will be the thing to bite us in our ass. Because I feel good about having, Knight Steinwasher is still, we're spoiled in a way. Our full-time accountant, goalkeeper, who, I'm biased when I'm say it, but I know other teams say this in there, is top 3 or top 5 in this league. And if ever he gets banged up, we got Carlos Saldana waiting to win. He's been under Danny Dico for now his 3rd year with Sacramento. Before that, I think if you give your guys moments to make opportunities and make plays, they'll be able to do that. But we have to be on mentally. If we're off in the slightest bit, that's going to suit to your advantage.
I hear that because we've seen some big switch off moments from our club through the season as well so far, so can definitely appreciate that.
Yep.
We've got a pretty full chat right now, full of score predictions, so I'm going to read through a few of those before we get to the panels here on that. We've got Brian with a 2-2, unfortunately. We've got Justin with a 1-0 RIFC, Tyler with 2-1 to the good guys, our guy Nate 2-1 to the good guys. Jason is trying to be optimistic, but 1-0 Rhode Island. Scott, Scott runs Rhode Island FC UK. He's from Wales. We had him on a couple episodes ago for our Hartford preview. Just absolutely awesome that he's up late at night here with us. 2-1, but want to say 2-2 to the Draw Kings.
Okay.
It's hard
Evan,
not to.
It's hard not to. Evan says 1-1. I might as well bet my rent money on it, and I get that. It's what we've seen. Mark says Steinwasher is a wall. DCFC 2-0. I think he's one of your fans in here, just based on reading comments in the chat. And then let's see, what else do we got in here? I had a good one that I wanted to come back to. Our guy Evan, up the Evan. Garret, I'm gonna ask this as like the restaurant down the street from me called Garrett's Ale House. How do you like your draws?
If you're referencing to how do I like my burger or my steaks, definitely medium. You have to have some flavor in there, but you
need a
also
little blood to make it good.
But you also want to be smart and not be down for the count for the next 72 hours to a week. So, so I think that leads to my question. I feel like for us, a lot of questions I think are going to be asked that we're asking on this team defensively lately,
Sure.
Because this is very unusual for the Detroit City team we've seen in the last few years, both NISA and USL Championship. I don't know if they're going to get the 3 points in there too, because like I said, you guys are difficult out. You create chances. You move the ball well on there. I think 1-1, just because I don't feel confident enough. We've only had 2 clean sheets in league play all year, which is another concerning side for me in a way. Like the 2 clean sheets, so North Carolina at home on April 6th, and the Loudoun, because every time we go to Loudoun, or if we played Maryland Bobcats and NISA in that region, if it's May, September, October, it's always pouring rain, and the camera people forget to wipe their lenses until halftime.
We have a lot of problems with the camera situation, so we agree there.
Yeah. So, but that game was a dire fest because, and however, I will say a 0-0 draw in Loudoun is much better in 2024 than had it been a couple of years ago. Just because I think they're they're a tougher side, sure. And they play when they want to move the ball, they can move the ball. I like their intent. So I'm going to say 1-1 just because I feel like this is defense is going to ask questions, but are we ready to take that next step at a win? I also know that we have, after this match, we got Charleston at home next weekend. And for if you guys don't know this, but from 2013 to 2018, Ben Pierman was our manager. And then left when he offered the gig to assistant coach at Memphis, which he then, took the reins there, and now he's at Charleston. So, but Charleston have built up a good, talented young side, and then we have a friendly First Liga Mexican Pumas, and then we're in a thick lot of games. July too. So,
yeah, I guess a quick tip: if you can somehow get it to torrentially downpour and be 38 degrees when Charleston comes, it seemed to help us. So.
Got to shut the kids down from over there because Yakaza wrecked us. Yakaza is the difference in that second half from us taking a point and what eventually was Augie Williams bearing it. So, but yeah, I think 1-1 just because I think we got enough, even with like other guys that I mentioned, Matty Ibarra, McGlenn. I think you got enough players that can make plays in moments. I feel maybe like we're not going to lose, but I don't know if we're that going to be completely on it to get all 3 points.
All right, and I will say weather-wise, and I know people that watch and listen to this hate when I give weather predictions because I'm usually wrong, but it's looking like 75 and partly cloudy for Saturday throughout the day, so it's going to be a nice day, which will be a very comfortable evening for playing. So for the traveling support, make sure you triple and double check and quadruple check your weather app because I'm usually wrong.
I'm going to bring an umbrella now.
Yeah, it might snow. It's Rhode Island.
Ooh, so you get that too? Not just us thinking.
Yeah. If you
don't
like
get it like 2 days after you guys get it, so yeah.
If you don't like the weather in Rhode Island, just wait 5 minutes. It changes. Like that's what it is. But Scott, Ryan, what do you got for your score prediction?
All right, so I have been really debating this one, but looking into it, right? So Detroit City, they're 3-1-0 at home, +4 goal differential there. They are 2-1-3 on the road, -5 goal differential. I think key to this game is really shutting down that Rodriguez-Murphy duo. It seems like they're kind of the ones who are really going to control what is going to happen on the day. This one should be very fun to watch. Both teams love to press, and they both do it very well. So I think that could cause a lot of problems for both teams in a lot of ways. A lot of this is going to sound the exact same as my Harvard prediction, but if we can control via our press and not make dumb mistakes, and if we can really shut down their key players, I'm going to go with 2-1. I do not feel good about that at all, but I'm hoping that I could see both teams making a mistake to give away a goal. I'm just hoping Detroit honestly stays in the run of form they've been in, and we can kind of capitalize a bit more. I think we're very overdue. Our expected goals we're so under our expected goals. Like eventually the stats gods need to rain down upon us and give us that overperformance. So 2-1, don't feel good about it. I would probably bet 1-1, but I think we can pull it off. Finally get that first home win ever.
That would be huge. But I'm going to go to the chat a little bit before I give my prediction on here. Tim says, based on my weather report, 65 and downpours it is. I could totally see that happening. Evan wants to know, Garrett, over under yellow cards, 4.5. How do you got? How has discipline been with you guys this season? Because we are one of the most.
I was gonna say over just because of us.
Like, yeah, I would say we're gonna go over.
Yes.
So
we're a bit more. got a little bit more aggression in us this year than the past years. So I think we had, I don't know if it was due to the officiating in Irvine against Orange County, all they're being straight to the point, but we had both of our center backs with yellow cards in the first 20 something minutes.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
So.
Talk about squeaky bum time.
Over under 4.5. Definitely take the. Is that just for one team or is that for both? If that's for both,
I'm interpreting that as for the match. Yeah.
Also, Evan, what odds are you giving? Come on,
dude, take both.
Right.
Take over under for both. All day.
We have a really shitty sports book in Rhode Island that we our one casino runs. So like we wouldn't even get that as a prop bet because they just suck.
I think we have we may have 3 in us at least. I would say yellow cards for sure, just because
he says both. He says both in the chat. So definitely hammer that over.
Who are your guys that can banter? Because I think we've picked up some guys that can chirp a little bit. Which I'm a hockey fan. I'm a fan.
Are you talking
like, players
or are you talking fans?
Players.
Yeah. So I think
let's say Kevin Callahan.
Yeah, we got plenty of fans. I think we've seen JJ Williams we saw him kind of get the RIFC air a little bit more, and I think he's becoming more of a vocal leader on this team based on the Hartford match there.
You know who has some banter in him? Yeah, Tim said Turnbull.
I would say 100% Turnbull. He was going to be my next one. I think JJ is a growing one, but I think Turnbull is very much one of the biggest chirpers.
Also, Mark Doyle, he got a yellow for dissent last game. He's from Ireland.
Mark Doyle, Noah Fuson, Clay
Cano Smith.
Yeah, coach. I think there's quite a few players that can get a little bit chippy, a little bit chirpy in there as well.
I don't know about Clay, but Gabby Alves, our sweet boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gabi was benched last match. There was a little exchange between him and Kano, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes back into the fold or not. But like we got in the chat from Scott, you can see Gabi Alves is a mastery of shithousery. Scott's just being a limey asshole right now. But Gabi,
I will say, I think our chirper guys, if I were to rate our chirper guys from James Murphy. James Murphy's got that chirp in him all day. Michael Bryant, who has the best mustache in the league?
We got some good mustaches.
We got a couple because JJ has one right now. His is pretty 80s porn-esque. And then our backup keeper who started a few games, Jackson Lee, his looks like it's a fun time.
So, but we refer to it as the people that love Michael Bryant. There's the mustache mafia here. So,
okay.
So, Brian can chirp a bit, especially if he's playing right back. He'll be going to that matchup I think you're talking about. Brent Levi's, I think, has some chippiness in him lately. I'm seeing in there too. Vancouver boy. And then probably Alec. I mean, I would say Steve Carroll might have some chirp in him, but definitely not. Oh, Nate Stein, our goalkeepers Nate can surprisingly chirp. Because the funny thing with Nate, you don't see him, but Nate is part Peruvian. So I think there's that little bit of Emi Martinez dark art. If you not that dark, not that deep. If you ever go back to because they didn't have any people in the stands in the 2021 Copa America and it was the Colombia Argentina penalty.
Oh yeah.
So they had the field incredibly mic'd, and you could just hear every time somebody from Colombia was stepping up to take a penalty and Nate was chirping and Emi was chirping him at that. Maybe not like that, but it'll probably be like he's got that quick fire in the late situations. So I think it'll be fun. It'll be some good times.
Yeah, I mean, we're still getting to know all our guys with first season, so I'm hoping that someone can really come out of the woodwork as a true chirp king throughout the year. I do appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Tim says in the chat, Lee's mustache deserves his own passport. So this one might be the mustache matchup. That might be how we have to dub it. Little side derby on that one going on there.
Now, are you ducking your prediction, by the way?
No. I was letting the chat play out. I was playing point guard, being a good host, letting the chat play out, getting everyone involved.
Making sure.
My prediction
I want you on the record.
Yeah, it's definitely coming. And we do a prediction league in our Defiance Discord. So I usually wait to respond to that until after we do this away end episode to make people come back for more. And, as bold bearded Reverend and not mustache, when we can't really comment fully on the mustache, but I definitely appreciate what we go on here. Worth noting, and I told it to Garrett off air before we signed on, and Jason Demers says, don't forget no, Jack is going to suck. So Jack Panayiotou, if you haven't already seen it or heard it, has been recalled by the New England Revolution with their dumpster fire midfield situation. They're going on with injuries and international play right now. We're also missing Jojea Quizera, who's a big out for us, and Isaac Anking, who will come on and give a late fall and maybe lead to a kick for a goal for the other team.
I mean, I guess as part of my prediction, I forgot to say, like, while Jack P's out, this means Noah Fuson attacking midfield, center attacking midfield. Remontada is on. I'm excited.
So no
Start
Jack
in the chat.
No Jack is where I wanted to start with as far as my score prediction and really kind of segue it there. I know you mentioned your defense being in a bit of shambles right now, Garrett. But we're going to struggle to create chances without Jack. Our real uptick in form has come since Jack P has joined this team, and we're still learning what JJ and Chico can do together, if they can do anything together. I took a personal day today. I mentioned I teach. I power washed my deck. I cleaned underneath. I set up my outdoor man cave, if you will, under my deck with all my grills and, got it all going. And I was sitting in, I sent Ryan a picture of what it looked like. And he's like, that's a really cool rocking chair. So I'm sitting in my rocking chair. Ryan, you knew the story was coming. I'm sitting in my rocking chair. I made myself a burger for lunch as I had to go. I live about 5 minutes from my kindergarten son's school. So I was going to eat a burger and go walk and pick him up. And I'm sitting in the rocking chair eating. And all of a sudden, I got fucking stung in the leg by a bee, and it really hurt. And Ryan said, that's a really good chair to sit and ponder if Chico is going to score again. And I said, I was sitting there pondering if Chico was going to score again. And then B fucking stung me. And I went, Chico's going to score again. But that's going to be the only goal we have. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think the absence of Quizera is going to be even more felt in this one than Jack P, because we're going to be trying to play that cross game again, where we've seen the 3-5-2. Would it surprise me if Kano reverted back to the 3-5-2 without Jack? No. Do I think it's our best formation to play with? No. I think we got to go 4-2-3-1, and I think it's going to be JJ sitting a little bit deeper than Chico. I know. JJ is a superb passer of the ball. I'd kick Noah out wide, and I'd put JJ in and kind of let him play off Noah, who's going to cut in, and then I see JJ cutting in back out wide where he can kind of create chances. And I think that might be the route to success.
I think if we're going to do that, like, maybe just go straight up English 4-4-2.
I get that too. But I think without the creative number 10 in there, we just can't put those two up front together.
No, Fuson.
Yeah.
And that could be a game where if you're losing the creative edge, are you guys going to then start to go a little bit more balls over the top a little bit and use your physicality?
Yeah.
That could be something.
The balls over the top, the physicality that we've displayed has been off set pieces and corners, and that's been off Jack Panayiotou whipping those corners in. And we don't have him.
The other problem
it's going to be Noah taking those corners, and
the other thing too is our physicality is more like hold up play rather than get in behind. We don't really have like the speed. We have some guys who are speedy, but they're also not our best players. So yeah,
we're going to be
question.
We're going to be looking at one, and I do see Gabi Alves coming back in and playing left back in a 4-2-3-1 in this situation. So you're going to be looking at Gabi Alves and Stephen Turnbull whipping in crosses, and Turnbull's cross success rate is I think the same as my shoe size, about a 13. It's pretty low.
Good brag, dude.
Yeah, hey man, big feet, big socks.
One thing that could be interesting too on ours, because I was just thinking about service and distribution. Ryan Williams, somebody that we haven't been playing a whole lot. He did score an absolute banger in the U.S. Open Cup. If you hadn't seen it, that first goal against Houston, which I think was the reason why we were able to turn around. But he's good on set pieces for corners, especially on there, because he can put that inch perfect ball, which is sometimes what you need. So I don't know if Danny throws him in on Saturday, there's for a plan on there. So I think that might be like, Matt, is it going to be shape versus shape matchup? It's going to be that type thing too, because I don't know if you may do the tall small.
Well, how much do you guys typically like to play in the middle of the field? Is it more direct in the middle, or do you guys like to whip it out wide and try to get it back in?
I think this is more it's more carpet style this year as much as possible. little bit ins and outs on there and driving. Like with James Murphy coming from Monterey Bay, James Murphy can play as either a 6 or a roving 8. So, on that day, depending on how they roll. I mean, Maxi Rodriguez has been traditionally a box-to-box, but now they're trying to play him as more of, if not a 10, then was the word, the Iniesta, I think it was a Regala, or, or maybe it's Mezzala. That's
Mezzala,
yeah. So, in that time, I think that could...
I'm really nervous I'm going to fall in love with Rodriguez and Murphy. They sound like my favorite type of players.
Murphy is your grit guy, and Elijah is another guy that I think has really blossomed. A young player, 24, 25. We saw him years ago when he was still in college in the summer. He's really come into his own these last couple of years. Loves a long shot. Boy loves a long distance strike. He's nailed one in there before, which was our first goal in like 7 games last year, and it was like really of all the people to do it, but. I think that's another thing. He buried our pen. He stepped up when Maxi got subbed off. He stepped up to take the pen, and I had like why is he taking the pen? What the? And then he buried it. I was like, I always believed in you.
That was like us with Mark Doyle starting in the Derby. We were like, why is he starting? And then 4 minutes in, goal. We love it. We love it.
Personally, for me, because I feel like we've been doing 3 so much, whether it's the 2 holding or like a 4-2-3-1 can essentially be like a 4-3-3, the Christmas formation, the Christmas tree formation, or that. I'd love to see us do a 4-4-2. Sometimes we do it off the ball, but I'd love to see us try to go in that. And whether you do a tall, small, for those in there, I think there's a good chance. So I'm really curious to see what your shape is, especially with, what you were talking about with the transactions that have taken place today, as well as for us coming off this run and, being, this is the last of the road games that we've had, because this is 4 in a row for us on the road when you count the Open Cup. I think it's going to be, that might be the little chess game before you even get to playing the match.
Yeah. Ryan, you got a fan in the chat. Scott is drooling over the 4-4-2 potential.
I just want to be clear. I don't know that I want that to happen. Also, Scott's from the UK, so he's gonna love the 4-4-2. It's in his blood. It's in his DNA.
The 4-4-2 is right underneath fish, chips, and tea. I feel like.
Evan has the 4-4-1-1 with JJ as a center forward and Doyle as a striker. That's kind of what I alluded to, but with Dequa as the striker and JJ playing behind him, I think JJ's passing allows him to play a false 9, and his size and his whole.
The only thing is I want him to be posting up too.
I get that. But I do think that the Jack P will be missing. And Jason says in the chat, yeah, I want a 4-4-2. Let JJ do his thing. And
wait, Jason, who do you want to be the other of the 2?
He wants Doyle. I'm going to say it. We've had a lot of discussion within our supporters group, Garret, about is it time that Chico rides a little bit of pine and kind of makes way for JJ and Doyle.
I've teed it up a bit on the Cahog corner on Monday. I am kind of on the maybe he should sit down, but it's more of a I don't, because right now we're playing in the Derby 3 strikers. I think we need more balance up top. That was why I was like, maybe if you're gonna take one of them out and put more of a natural winger in there. But if you're gonna play a 4-4-2, like just play your 2 best strikers there. So
yeah. I think you have to start him. I think you have to start him. I think you can pull him.
I've been seeing Holstead in your.
He's our Swiss Army knife,
right? So he's kind of like our Michael Bryant in a way, because Michael Bryant lately has been a right back, but in the time Michael Bryant's played with us, we've seen him play as a support striker somewhere in the midfield, a center back.
That's Clay.
Either fullback.
We've seen Clay play center mid, center back, right wing. Like he'll do it all. Like we've seen him out there.
So he could also be a string puller for you guys too.
Yeah, he's that deep lying playmaker. It's just
okay.
Personally, I don't think we get the ball on his feet enough to make him pull those strings. Evan in the chat says no more Albert. He's refusing to call him Chico. We definitely see that going forward.
The fact that you guys landed him after he won the Golden Boot blew our minds.
Right. There are a lot of talk around the formation of the squad was very much that it was to be built around JJ, Noah, Prince Sadie, Quizera.
My only thing with that is
Albert kind of changed
what we do.
That's
like a thought. I subscribe to the theory, but we don't it's never been officially communicated. I just want to be clear.
But he was a late ad. He was a late ad
For sure. It's probably right, but I think we talk about it very matter of fact at this point when we don't know that.
Right, and like Evan says, don't forget Albert wasn't in coach.
Yeah, again, that's it's all the same thing. It's it's been a thing that's been in the ether for a bit now.
All right, let's put a pin in this one. We're hitting up on the hour mark.
Actually, I have one final question for Garret.
I am gonna come around to each of you for your final thoughts and takes. I have a question for Garret as well. Right. But Ryan, I'll start with you.
Mine is a very Michigan question.
Go on.
Buddies or Jets?
Even outside of that.
Okay.
I'm going to throw an outlier because believe it or not, I am one block from where the original Jets was, and I graduated with a Jets son on there. So, and that's and I didn't even grow up in Warren. I live Warren's 25 minutes from Detroit, and I grew up in Utica, which is another 25 minutes, Utica Shelby Township. Yep. So so I have that, and Buddies is good. Shields.
Okay.
That's my Detroit pizza. Although
I married into a Buddies family, so
okay. Buddies hits that antipasto from Buddies is solid on there, but Shields can bang, especially if you don't want to go pizza, you want to go a burger or get their pasta and potato skins game. And also I'm trying to think. I am more Team Fago over Runners.
Okay.
When it comes to pops in here.
Just so everyone's aware, pop is soda. Do the translation for everybody.
We got that.
So I will occasionally use soda, but we prefer it's pop in this part of on there. I don't know if it's just because it's our own thing or the fact that we're closer to Canada than we are to a lot of the United States. But it's pop here for sure.
All right, Ryan. Anything else? Any other final points you want to get across on this one?
No, it's exciting that. Sorry, it's sad that Jack's not going to be there, but it's exciting that it kind of again unlocks the Kano. Let's see what it gives him an excuse to try something new. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with this week and what the team has been drilling all week in practice. So
our guy Scott from Wales says Wales equals pop. So pop, good on you. He likes that. Garret, any final thoughts you have for us? Anything else you didn't get to say that you want to throw out before we sign off?
I would always say it's great to be able to talk football, especially with
I know. I think I told you we'll be a half an hour, 45 minutes, and here we are over the hour mark.
But no, this is but we're used to long marathons at Channel 451 in Majors Detroit. Sometimes even too long, where people are wait, why'd you guys talk about stuff for so long? Because we love shit. But no,
that's why we do this. We love to talk.
But no, it's been fun. Thank both of you for having me on here. I'm really curious to see.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, I'm curious to see how Saturday plays out for both teams on there. I think it's going to be fun and refreshing. I also think it's really exciting for the fact that our return fixture is on national television in August. So I think that is also a really cool sign. So hopefully, if anyone's going to be making the trip on there, feel free to reach out in there. We'll for either food recommendations, locales, all that type of stuff. So
yeah, same for us. If anyone is going, point them out to us. Jay's Deli is a very close proxy pickup sandwich location for this one that I would highly recommend. Our guy Kevin, who runs a weekly Twitter space, would also say the same. A really, really good one on that. Part of my final question, actually, and you just segued it perfectly, was so the return leg is a nationally televised fixture. There's some talk within our fan base of what away matches they were going to attend, and that one is kind of climbing the list because of the national televised aspect of it. Sell us on why our fans should come to Detroit to go watch that one. Give us the tourism ad.
So I think what's going to be really unique about Keyworth, and I think for a good example, if you want to see some content, go check out Owen Evans from Phoenix Sports, who I had the pleasure of meeting with when Rising came to town, the last home match. He did a great thing about Keyworth. Keyworth Stadium was inaugurated by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the late 1930s. This reminds you, if anyone's ever been over to say Europe for a match, whether to a traditional a ground, you walk through Hamtramck, which is this enclave, this densely populated rows in there, and a melting pot of communities. So it is it's gritty, right? And you walk in this neighborhood, and then you have a stadium that is old school looking. Seats can fill up to 7,000. Is it the most amenity filled stadium, municipalities are spending $700 million on type thing? No. But the fact that this is a part of a community, and it's that this club is leasing through the Hamtramck Public Schools, but supporters help bring the stadium, rehab it enough to be able to host city matches in 2015. There's a lot of character to it. I think another way is I compare it to with the brick wall, kind of like if anyone watches La Liga and you watch Rayo Vallecano and the Estadio Vallecas in Madrid, where so the supporters sections are on the sides. So rather than behind the goals, you have that food truck experience, plenty of different. So if you want kielbasas in Polish, you can go to Schrodek's. If you want, there's Balabob there. If you want Yugoslavian, Bosnian, you got Balkan House, which they don't do the cevapi at the food truck, which is a shame, but they're donair. It's a great experience, and it's a little bit outside of Detroit, so you're like 5-10 minutes. So you do want to kind of get transportation, but there's still, even in Hamtramck, it's literally a melting pot of cultures, a cool crowd, a passionate crowd. And I think it's going to be a unique experience. I think it's a unique experience. If you're going, especially in USL Championship, I think it'll basically is take it in and kind of, look and take it in for the simplicity of it. It's simple in design. It's simple in aesthetic, but it's got character.
I like that. I like the old school vibe of that. One final question for you, Garrett. It's 4th down. You're at your opponent's 30-yard line. What do you do?
All right. Is it under 5 or over 5? What are we talking here? Are you giving me odds, or am I going to be going for it?
Nope. Just simple. What are you doing?
I've become lately a fan. Like, you know what? You got one chance. Fuck it. Go for it.
That's it. Go for it. I like
to be
it.
clear, Dan Campbell's more sophisticated than that, but whatever.
That dude drinks so much coffee. Did you ever hear of his?
Oh, it's like 8 shots of espresso.
His caffeine intake per day is insane. It's like my week. It's like my week, maybe more than my week. Absolutely nuts.
So, so for me, to give you an idea, when we had that second half of the NFC title game, this is like character people. I'm used to this stuff. I'm used to this. Hey, oh yeah, whoever says they got a train, there's behind the
that's Mark Reese.
There's a train track that goes behind Keyworth, so like a railway yard, a railway depot, and behind the back thing too. So you will often have, it's kind of similar to that Slovakian. It's not like the Slovakian ground where the train track's right next to the touchline, but it is kind of on the outside. So you might get that. It's hey mother, yeah, it's cool. So be ready for that.
That's better than seeing fucking Amazon trucks on the highway at Hartford the whole time.
Yeah,
out there, man.
But what else was I going to say on that? So Dan Campbell thing, to give you an idea of why passionate people, maybe why I think there's something cool about this team, city team.
I mean, my father-in-law, it was the first year I've ever heard him be even a little hopeful about the Lions. So
yeah, the fact that I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl, I'm done with football. It's all that for the year. And then I was reading Alex Anzalone's Players Tribune, where Dan's like, you got to watch it. You got to take it all in and be ready. I'm like,
yep.
Damn it. So
he's a good dude.
That's the motivation. And this is why I think also why we love this sport and the clubs that we love, because even when we get kicked to the ground on repeated amount of times or have joy snatched from us like that, we keep coming back to it. We're sickos. And that's the beautiful thing about it.
I like it. I think that's beautiful. That's a good note to end on. We are all sickos, especially the double-digit viewers we had in here throughout. Sickos that tune in. We got a sicko in Wales who stays up at all hours of the night to tune in and join us. So it's
Is
just
anything
crazy.
open over there? It's 1 a.m. in the morning.
No, he's hiding it. He's hiding in his basement, yelling at the screen and like banging on the keyboard to chat with us. We had him on for a Hartford preview. So Garrett, go back and watch it. It's fucking epic. He waxes poetically about his hate for Hartford, and he's in Wales, so it's just fucking awesome. It's really cool. But I think that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, RIFC Nation is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for your daily social media fix. Click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. If you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you check it out and type in the code RIFC Nation, all one word, to get a free pack added to your collection. Type in Derby Days too, because he put out Craig put out some really cool cards. We have this cool he makes cards based on events and players. It's just really, really well done. So go check it out. It's absolutely awesome. So thanks again for tuning in. I've been your host, Matt, my co-host, Ryan and Garrett. We'll see you next time. We'll be back this weekend to break down this one in all of its glory or less than glory. Garrett, we're going to put on a quick outro video. Don't leave. We'll talk to you after this thing goes over. But thanks again for everyone who tuned in. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.